Roxo Media House.
Jeff Wilson started covering the Texas Rangers in 2008, though he'll never forget 2021. Out on his own, he decided it was time to do a podcast, but his wheels were spinning until a nerd came along. There's no going back now. Welcome to the Texas Rangers Baseball Podcast. Here's your host, Jeff Wilson, and the recliner nerd himself, John Moore.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Today Baseball Podcast. This is episode number 62, and today is a big one for us. Been trying to get him on here for a few weeks. It's going to be Texas Rangers Hall of Famer Michael Young, his special assistant to the GM also. Hey, schedules don't work out sometimes, but Mike's going to join us here in a little bit from Dallas, and that's going to be fantastic. Can't wait to talk to him.
Yeah, you know, he's inside now. You know, he was a player, and I remember.
Now he's an inside cat.
Right, but I remember as trade deadlines would approach when he was playing, he'd be like, yeah, we need help. Trade any prospect. You know, trade them all. And so now I wonder how that maybe has changed in his view. But
yeah.
Anyway, he's a good guy, big sports fan. We might have to get into some TCU USC talk. And but anyway, yeah, we really appreciate him taking the time.
Yeah, he's going to join us here in a little bit. Hey, guys, before we get going, hit that subscribe button down there. We can't tell you how much we appreciate it. The subscribers has gone up. This thing's starting to make a little money. It's fantastic. Tell all your Ranger fans about it. Join Rangers today. TC,
right.
Let me tell you what. Fort Worth Star Telegram doesn't even cover the Rangers anymore.
That's correct.
And this place is all free. All you Tarrant County people, this is where you can get your Rangers coverage. It's cheaper than a newspaper.
It's cheaper than the Star Telegram.
It is. Or it's cheaper. A lot cheaper than that. $5.99 a month. You can get a $35 for the half a month or $60 for a year. But let's get into big league stuff right now. The winter meetings start. You're going.
Yeah,
this is Thursday, by the way.
Yeah, they start officially. They start Monday, but everybody gets their Sunday, and
Rangers Today will be there.
We'll be there. It's the first one since 2019, which incidentally was in San Diego, where this meeting is, and that was the meetings where the Rangers were trying to get Anthony Rendon and
remember that.
It ended up that the Angels got him when they went the extra year, and might have been a blessing in disguise as things have played out. And then
I said it back then, and I'll stick with it.
And then right after that, the Rangers traded for Corey Kluber in a deal
which was a great move.
Well, yeah. And they traded away DeShields and Emmanuel Clase, who's now one of the best closers in baseball.
Yeah.
So you win some, you lose some, but they're expected to be players here. I'm sure, last year, there's a reason that picture's behind us with Chris Young and Corey Seager. Today is December 1st, and it's the 1-year anniversary of everybody being signed.
Right.
Simeon, Seager, Cole Calhoun, John Gray. The Rangers spent $561.5 million
before it shut down.
Just before the lockout, got them all introduced. Signed everything on the dotted line, and it really stunned a lot of people, including me. But it has put the Rangers kind of back on the map, at least for the offseason, because now when the Rangers say they have money to spend,
people are
taking them seriously.
When you look at every rumor that goes around there, and the Rangers, if they're tied to a player, there are people that are saying they're legit. They're gonna be in it.
Yeah, and. So, I mean, some of it is, all of this really is just throwing stuff on the wall and see what sticks at this point. I really don't think the Rangers are going to sign Jacob deGrom. That's just me.
Yeah.
I think they're a little frightened by the risk because, of his recent injury history, and he's a little bit older. But anyway, there's somebody thinks that the Rangers are going to give deGrom 5 years and $200 million. Last year, 2 years ago, there's no way that people would have thought that Rangers would have spent that kind of money. So,
no.
So it's it's good to be in.
Do you think
that.
Rodon? Do you think that's
possible? Yeah, I think they have a lot of possibilities, but I think they're only going to sign one big starter.
Yeah.
So it would be, I guess, Rodon or deGrom. I don't know where Senga falls into this from Japan.
There's some rumors around there that he wants to be with someone that he thinks is going to contend right now, which that could be the Rangers. But like you said, there's a lot that needs to be fixed.
Sure, but you never know.
He's on my wish list, but I could also see him going out for I mean, I'm not disappointed. If they get one big name, it's okay if they don't get Senga to go with it.
Yeah, and it's it's a balancing act. How long do you want to tie up rotation spots because you really think that Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker and Owen White and Cole Winn can be major league starters and
Cody
good ones.
Bradford. I mean, you got
there's a huge lot. Ricky Vanasco.
Yeah.
Who's on the 40-man roster. So
right.
I mean, there's a long list of guys. So it's like I said, it's a juggling act, and they help iron out the budget. You got guys who are pitching for $800,000 a year for 3 years. You can help pay off that guy that's making $35 million a year.
Absolutely.
So
here's my bold prediction.
It's necessary.
My bold prediction: there is one prospect in this organization that will make his major league debut next year and will end up starting about 10 games and do fine, because you always need extra pitching.
Yeah.
No matter what your rotation is, you have to dip down in the minor leagues and use somebody. And somebody that we haven't seen is going to come up here and do good, and that's going to set up for going into 2024 going, this is the one that looks like he's going to make the rotation.
Well,
that's a prediction of mine.
If they sign Jacob deGrom, then a pitcher is going to be needed for the minor leagues. I mean, it's just, hey, let's just. And I was thinking about that. Let's say a team signs him for 40 years, or for 40 million. Sorry, and
in 5 years,
what value do you put on a Jacob deGrom start? How much money is each start worth?
Right.
If he's only going to make 20 starts, is that worth $2 million a start? Is it worth,
right?
How much is a win worth in your mind financially? And
right.
Now if he makes 20 starts, he's probably going to win. The Rangers would probably win. You would think 10 to 14 of them, somewhere in there.
Right.
So how much are those wins worth? And if you calculate it like that in your mind, then maybe the value does make sense. But I just think that it's a big risk. But anyway, there's a lot more at play than just let's just pay him $40 million. There's a lot at play, and I'm sure they've covered every possible scenario out there, stuff that you and I would never think of in 100 years, and so we'll see. But so the winter meetings are coming up. The Rangers signed, I think, came to an agreement with Lance Lynn at the winter meetings. What was that? The 17 winter meetings, or maybe it was the 18 winter meetings. Mike Minor was right before or after that. Kyle Gibson was before the winter meetings in 19. So they're generally busy at this point doing some little stuff. The big stuff, but the big stuff can take a while. So we'll see what happens, though.
I think what a lot of winter meetings, my understanding is where you start the beginnings. If there's some trade out there, you're really in the middle of trying to get it together. Whether you get it done before the end of the winter meetings or not, you've at least got the conversation going.
Sure.
That follows up right after that. I think that a lot has to do with it, too.
Yeah, well, I think that's where the Kluber trade really came to fruition while the teams and the front offices were in San Diego, and then it just took them a couple days to finish it off because it was announced on a Saturday morning. We were in line at an electronics recycling place, getting ready to get rid of all of our old TVs, and I looked at Twitter and I was like, "Well, son of a gun, we got to go home." So anyway.
What about bats? Today I saw where Haniger might be tied to the Rangers.
Yeah.
I predicted on my armchair GM that Joey Gallo, I still think that's somebody they might take a 1-year deal on. He's not going to demand more than that. And maybe he doesn't get the 12 I said. I mean, but look, that guy's going to sign for 1 year, I think, to reestablish himself. We'll see what the shift does to him.
Sure.
Manning the shift could obviously make a big difference there. Anything you're thinking there? Haniger wouldn't be bad. I like Haniger.
Sure, when he's healthy.
He's been hurt.
That has hurt a lot. I don't know that he plays every day now. I don't know. I mean, he's, if you look at what he's done when he's been healthy in Seattle, he's a nice guy to have in your lineup. And Joey Gallo definitely wants to come back here. I think that's pretty clear. He never wanted to leave.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think the Rangers are probably looking at bigger options or less risky options. I mean, Joey Gallo's best seasons of his career were with the Rangers, obviously. And
right.
But his best.
What's he, 30 or 31?
I don't even think he's right around there. I don't even think he's 30 yet. But
okay.
His best season was 18 when he got hurt and didn't finish the season. He batted, I guess it was 253. And they're like, hey, that's an amazing year.
Yeah.
And when he got traded by the Rangers to the Yankees, he was sitting around 220.
Yeah.
And for Joey Gallo, that's really good. You know, and so what does
he was walking a lot then too?
Walked a lot.
He called a walk a single, and
still strikes out a lot.
Right.
He misses pitches that are in the strike zone. That's the biggest problem.
That's
with him.
the problem.
You gotta. But I think I really think that he and Donnie Ecker and Tim Hires are a good match. Just what they're trying to implement with seeing pitches and knowing where the ball is going and what to lay off of. Though Chase has never really been a big issue for Joey, but I think there's a fit there. The shift you do talk about the shift changing. All right, the infielders can't shift, but could the left fielder slide over and play where the second baseman's been playing the last 5 years? Maybe that happens. I don't know, but that would affect Corey Seager too. But you would have to think there'd be some more hits in there for both of those guys. So.
Well, if that's the case, I mean, if you think about it, let's say the left fielder comes over and plays and you don't have any left field over there. You talk about taking it the other way. It's okay to pop up down that line when there's no one over there to cover it.
And Gallo does hit a lot of pop-ups to left field. So, anyway.
One thing about Gallo, though, that I like is he doesn't come here as just a home run guy. He plays defense.
Right.
He's got a cannon of an arm. He is good out there in the field. That's a good defender in the outfield that can knock it. Who's probably going to hit 30 home runs.
Yeah, and people like him. He's comfortable here. You know what you're getting with him.
Right.
So I don't know. That kind of there's risk, but that takes away a lot of the risk.
Well, he could be a signing along with the big bat. He could be a cheaper, get him and get another guy that's more what you're really trying to go after.
Yeah, and I don't know that there's been so much focus on the pitching.
Yeah.
That you just don't have a feel for it, and you have Seager, you have Lowe. Do you want a left-handed hitter? Do you want to you have your Simeon, Garver, Young? Do you want Garcia? Do you want another right-handed bat? So there's a lot of things with lineup construction you gotta think about. So. Anyway, and one other thing that happens in the winter meetings, or right at the start, is the results of the Veterans Committee.
For the Hall of Fame. I was about to talk about. For the Hall of Fame,
yeah.
And TR got something coming up?
Yeah, the memoir that's going to be out today. Anyway, I can't remember what it's called now. It's called like the Today's Era Player Committee or something. But basically, it's the Veterans Committee. And on the list is former Ranger Rafael Palmeiro, who... Everybody knows his numbers. 500 and something home runs, 3,000 and something hits. He's guys with those numbers
get to the Hall.
Go to the Hall of Fame. Except
when you sit in a congressional hearing and point at him and go, "I did not take steroids," and then test positive a couple months later.
Right. And,
so that's. I think if he would have just kept his mouth shut, maybe this whole thing would go away.
Maybe, but. I don't know. I just the guys who have tested positive since MLB started enforcing this. It's just they can't overcome it.
Nope.
And I got my Hall of Fame ballot in the mail the other day. I'm not going to vote for Alex Rodriguez or Manny Ramirez just because they got popped after it was illegal. And and I'm a big and people say, "Oh, you're a hypocrite because you voted for Bonds and Clemens." They never failed a test.
Nope.
And MLB was complicit in the rise of the steroid era because they never did anything to enforce it.
Their names,
they made a ton of money on these people. So I just now that they're enforcing it, okay, that's different. But before, I voted for those guys, and they're
Clemens came up on the Mitchell report. Was that right?
And
that's where he's all tied into it.
And the Balco thing with Bonds and I think with Clemens it was the ex-trainer who
and his wife was getting into steroids or something like that.
Well, that's fine. But So
she
anyway,
third in the lineup. Yeah,
Palmeiro's not the only flawed one on the ballot. Clemens is on there. Bonds is on there. You have Albert Bell, who had a nice career, but is a total jerk
to everybody.
Fred McGriff seems to be the favorite right now. You have to get 75% of the 16-member ballot, or committee. So that's 12. You have to be first on 12. So looks like McGriff. I'm a big Dale Murphy fan.
Yeah.
I like Don Mattingly. Those guys for stretches were the best hitters. And you could argue that Dale Murphy was the best player in the National League for 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
And then had a really dramatic drop off. So, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But I don't think that Palmeiro is going to make it. And it's a shame. But
did you ever deal with him?
No, I did not.
You came after he was already. 2008's when you first started on the beat.
Yeah, that was
right?
my first season, and by then he was already kind of banished. And he
was with the Orioles, but before
the Rangers have started to bring him back. He's made some appearances at games and alumni stuff, but maybe he can make the Rangers Hall of Fame someday. I don't know, but it's going to be a tough road for him this weekend, I think.
And we had the 1-year anniversary there. Winter meetings, you'll be there Sunday. You're heading out, which means we'll have coverage from there. Maybe you can get Boris. I mean, he'll usually hold court.
He does hold court Wednesday or Thursday. It'll be Wednesday probably. I mean, it's a scene. It's embarrassing. There's so many reporters around him, and it's hard to get your question in there and get your microphone in there unless you position yourself well. But then, once you ask your question and you're done, you got to stay there for the whole thing because you're trapped. Yeah. So but enough people are there and they transcribe the whole thing and it eventually will be disseminated to everybody.
Yeah.
But it's a show. But the winter meetings kind of a beat down. Long hours, lots of time on your feet, lots of time wondering what the hell's going on. But it's a place that reporters have to be, really. I mean, it's the marquee event.
Well, the beat writers, you're a beat writer. Beat writers need to be there, and it's just I'm glad Rangers Today, guys. I'm telling you, we're covering it all.
Yeah,
and it's going to be there. You know what? Let's get to anything else. We're going to get to Michael.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, let's get Michael Young in here right after this, guys. Joining us right now from Dallas at his house is Texas Rangers Hall of Famer, and he was the captain of the teams that went to the World Series, and he's a special assistant to the general manager right now. It's Michael Young. Mike, thanks so much for joining us, man.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, we'll get into this a little bit later, but Michael is from the Los Angeles area. He's wearing a USC football shirt right now.
He's got his colors on.
This is Roxo Media House, which is home to Frogs Today. I went to TCU. We got a TCU helmet on the table now. So anyway, we'll get into that in a little bit. But hey, right now we're both sitting pretty. All right, all we got to do is take care of business this weekend, and we will. But
TCU is totally looking pretty right now. I think they got to be you if they lose, right?
You would think. I mean, I think the 3 12-0 teams belong. They went through their season perfect. Didn't lose obviously, and now they're having to play a bonus game, and the bonus game shouldn't hurt you while serving somebody else who didn't even qualify for those games. That's my opinion. That's been my opinion for a long time.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I just think it'd be a travesty. But those brands, those Ohio States and Alabamas out there are probably looking pretty good to that committee. So we'll see.
They always do.
We'll see.
I'll tell you what.
Right.
All right. The other business at hand. Why haven't the Rangers signed anybody, Michael? What's going on here?
Uh-oh. I don't know. I think it does to all this stuff. When you get into free agency, it gets a little dicey as far as kind of making sure that you're looking at the market properly, trying to see where the best fits are. Obviously for us, the first order of business was hiring your manager and completing our coaching staff and filling that out, which we've done. And now we turn our attention to the market. And, it's one thing to go out there and target free agents, which obviously a lot of teams are doing right now, but it's another to also kind of go out there and try and survey the trade market too. So I know all the folks who are working really hard in our front office have their hand in pretty much all that stuff right now, and are just kind of waiting to see proper fits, and they'll be aggressive when they see it.
How involved are you? Are you at the ballpark couple days a week? Does it depend on the timing? If something is close, they call you in. What is your schedule?
For me right now, I mean, going to the ballpark isn't as important as just making sure that I'm in constant communication with CY and with the rest of the guys. But they're the ones who are in there, and it's always been this case. I'm as a special assistant, it is part-time. I've seen the way the guys go full-time, and it's insane. I got a ton of respect for what they do, for how hard they work, for the way they communicate as a team. And again, I'm really happy to be a small part of it, but I give all those guys the credit that they deserve. Me, it's a really hardworking group.
And you don't want to be a full-time guy.
No. The work sounds great. The work sounds great. And I've said this forever. It's just kind of like rinse and repeat with me. You can just probably find this and hit record. I love the concept of the work, whether it's in a front office or even in a dugout. But the time is something that I haven't just been willing to do. People have asked me, when your kids get older, are you going to want to jump in a little bit more? And it's been exactly the opposite of what I've said. I kind of said, maybe, at that point when my kids get a little older, I'll maybe be willing to jump in, but it hasn't been that way at all. I mean, I think as my kids get even older and they're in college, I'm going to want to go visit them. I'm going to want to go travel on my own. So I don't see myself ever hopping in full time. I just don't see it.
Well, the one thing I've learned about kids is as they get older, they get busier. Yeah. And I guess we weren't really prepared for it. And me and my wife, because my son is playing baseball for I don't want to say a select team, but a tournament team, and he plays basketball.
Those tournaments aren't very long, are they?
Jesus. Our last tournament this year, Michael, was a one-day tournament, and the first game was at 9:30, and they ended up playing 5 games and went all the way to the championship game. We didn't leave until, and this is on a Sunday, until after 11. I mean, it was ridiculous. But the tournament, they're just a grind, and the downtime. Good God, it's terrible.
Crazy. I mean, we're probably getting off topic a little here right now, but I mean,
that's fine.
Major leaguers don't like playing doubleheaders.
Yeah.
Major leaguers don't like playing 2 games in one day. And you're asking young kids to crank out, if they get on championship Sundays and you go until you lose, you can crank out 4 or 5 games in one day.
Yeah.
It's a mystery when kids burn out.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wasn't that way when I played? I mean, you just played your rec ball and you played about
I walked
30.
to the field. I walked to the field, dragged my shit with me, and I played a game at noon on a Saturday. I went home. I mean,
yeah, exactly. Couple practices a week. Man. And it's we're doing some tryouts right now, and man, the tryouts aren't stressful, but it's like, what do you do? And it's unnecessary stress. We were not braced for this at all. And, we want our son, first of all, to have fun. We want him to be able to.
That's the main thing. Yeah, it's got to be fun.
We want him to develop. And so it's like a constant, like, are we doing the right thing for him? And I mean, you have 3 boys. I don't know if they all play baseball, but, my God. And then, like, our daughter plays on a really good soccer team. And it's nuts.
You're an Uber driver.
I wish we could go back 30 years, because it would be a lot better. Really?
Yeah, it is crazy. I mean, they do. I will say the kids are better at this age than they were around when I grew up. My son's better than me at the same age, and I have 3 boys. My oldest is a junior in high school, and like coming back to the earlier point, is when the kids get older, you get even busier. I mean, he's out of the young kid stuff. He drives himself everywhere, hangs out with his friends. They drive, they go out at night. Now it's real stuff, right? Junior, senior in high school stuff. Where are you going? Who are you with? What's there? I go home. He goes out, but I'm home. Man, out there weekend nights, so I want to go to bed early, but I can't go to bed until I know he's home. Yeah. I don't know, we're in constant communication on what he's doing. But if, something happens, something goes haywire, I got to be in my car to go get him. So, right. I mean, it's nonstop. It doesn't end at tournament baseball. I'll be the first to tell you on that one.
Well, see, your kids are young. Yeah. Mine are the age of his boys, and I've got one 24. You're exactly right, Mike. I mean, they don't understand why is there a curfew. It's because I want to go to bed, but I'm not going to sleep until you're in the house.
Right.
So you're exactly right.
Well, and I'll tell you what, though, Michael, one thing you told me, I remember this, when my sons first started playing baseball or t-ball, is like, you said you don't talk to them in the car about the game, good or bad. You just drive home and let everything cool off, maybe a cooling off period, and you can talk about them. But I don't jump my son's shit. I just can't do that. But yeah, it's a great tip. It's a great tip.
It works. And they start getting older. And, my son, who my oldest is 17, he's on the swim team in high school. He doesn't play baseball. But my 13-year-old does. He's serious about it. We're at a point now where we can talk a little bit more about it. I usually try and, for the longest time, it was what you and I talked about. As long as they're in uniform, no talking about baseball after the game. Like, you got to let them, the ride home can suck for a lot of kids. And I wasn't going to do that to my kid.
Yeah.
So, it became, all right, when we started talking about baseball games afterwards, all right, what went well? What went well out there? Even if, in baseball, it's one of those games, man. Even if you have a good game, there's probably a couple, 2 or 3 things that you did shitty just because it's such a tough sport.
Right.
Yeah. So, like, even if you go 3 for 4, there a couple of things went south, but so it's like, all right, what went well? And then we go over what he did well. All right, well, base running, defense, a couple at bats, great, whatever. And then I kind of just sit there, and he usually goes, man, that one at bat because he's a switch hitter, or that one at bat right-handed. Okay, boom, there's my green light. All right, well, what happened? Did you expand the zone? Like he usually kind of initiates it now, like things that he wants to talk about. So, he's at a point now where we can really talk about game and chop it up the way I like to, right? Which is, where we know that having fun and being a good teammate is important, but now we can get into the finer points of the game, which is something that I've been kind of dying to hop into for a long time. And he's starting to see all that stuff kind of pay off when he plays now.
And another thing, when did bats get to be $400 and $500?
Oh my God!
What's up with that? I mean, it's
a scam, dude. The whole thing, it's so bad. And then how about this? Like, they have kids convinced now. Like, when I was a kid, you bought a metal bat and you used it until that bat didn't fit you anymore, right? Then you hand it to your younger cousin or your little brother, and he used it.
Exactly.
You passed them down.
Yeah. They're just hand me down, right? Like clothes, right? You just hand them down to your closest relative. But nowadays they have these kids convinced that like these metal bats have like a shelf life, right? They only have like a certain amount of barrel shots, and then they're no good anymore. You got to throw them in the trash and buy a new one. It's a total jip. So anyway, I pass all the bats down to the kid, to the younger brother, to Antonio, my youngest son. But Emilio still says, he goes, I don't know, I'm not sure how many more barrels I got in this thing. I'm like, shut up and just hit. There's plenty of barrel shots in there, just hit. Like, and plus he's growing like crazy, so like you're not going to be using that bat for much longer anyway. But
yeah,
I don't know, man. The whole thing is super, super sketchy.
Well, if you're hitting it that well with a bat that doesn't have many more barrels in it, wait till I get you the bat that has the barrels in it.
Exactly.
So you need to keep hitting with this one.
Yeah. So wait till you start swinging wood bats all the time, and then we'll see.
Yeah.
I assume based on this conversation that Ian Kinsler is not knocking down your door to be a spokesperson for War Stick.
Well, no, I mean, he's. I think they're actually doing really, really well right now, man. I mean,
yeah.
And Kim's works at it too. He works at it. I think the biggest thing that I'm excited about is they just came out with pickleball gear. So
nice.
and War Stick has all the cool designs and the colors and all that fun stuff. So yeah, I'm gonna pull my old man hobby and get all over him for pickleball gear, because that's probably my next venture.
Your next thing. Yeah, my son actually has a War Stick bat, and yeah, it's good. And pickleball, that's where my wife's 40th birthday party was, at Chicken and Pickle in Grand Prairie. They're not a sponsor, but they need to be, and they have great chicken strips. But
my wife wants to do that.
Michael, they play a ton of pickleball and have for years in Surprise, and so it's finally catching on. It's finally the rage.
That's something I can do as a fat dude. I mean, that's something I could get me back. I'm starting to work out now and get back in shape, but pickleballs looks like something I can't run a baseline for tennis anymore. I'm gonna have to play some pickleball.
Wait.
So, not to go back to baseball, but another thing.
But you're going to.
Another thing I remember from the past is that you as a Major League Baseball player on a competitive team that was in contention, you were always very willing for the front office to trade away prospects. I wonder, Michael, has that changed with how you see the organization now and your role?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I think as a player, you one thing that, especially when you get on into like the middle sweet spot of your career, you do have a level of awareness on how long it's going to last, right? You know that this is only going to happen. These windows only pop up, for so long. It doesn't matter who you are. You can be a monster market. The Chicago Cubs are grinding to kind of reopen their window again. It's not easy to have that thing pried open all the time. And when you're there, you recognize how special it is. So I remember, field answers from you guys about prospects. I'm like, ship them all out, man. I did not care. And again, that's the luxury you have of being a player, right? And as if you're a front office member, you kind of appreciate the fact that a player's got blinders on and he's like, all right, all I care about is what's on the field tonight. That's all I care about. Yeah. When you're in the front office, you don't really have that luxury, right? It's like one eye on the present, which means a lot, and then one eye on the future, which also means a lot. But I think it also depends on making sure you have a solid amount of judgment, of sound judgment, in order to kind of make that determination of when is go time and when isn't. So I think, and everyone is case specific, right? Depends on who the prospects are, depends on what the team is, depends on what the fit is. But once you establish if it's a really good fit for the team, yeah, I think every team, when they see their window starting to open, is willing to kind of do what's necessary to keep it open and to try and win now. But again, they're all case specific.
Yeah. So what is your evaluation of the farm system? I mean, this is from our vantage point, and we've had a lot of the guys on, a lot of the top prospects on this show. I mean, it's deep. I mean, I don't remember it being this deep, and I know 9 and 10 and 11 might have been the last time it was like
deep,
this.
Super deep and talented, and I think if you're.
Hang on, Michael, you're breaking up a little bit.
Hang on. So if you're the Ranger fans, a way to make the fans kind of like chill on what's happening at the big league level, if that makes sense, right? All right, we're losing at the big league level, but damn, our farm system is sweet. And after a while, the fans are kind of like, all right, great. I think the unique part about where we are now is that all of our prospects are right around the corner. They're not like down in rookie ball or low A ball. They're basic. They were like, a lot of them have been in Frisco and are headed to Round Rock or have already been in Round Rock. So when you get guys that are that close and they start having success in Double A, you can now start getting really excited about them. They're right there. You have success in Double A, you're ready for a big league opportunity. And we have guys who have had success there. So, then you talk about the guys that we have that we know are talented and now starting to kind of like scratch the surface on what they can do. And that's a really fun part of development. Again, you talked about the depth, but it's also high end talent too. I think that this is the year where we see not only like our last year, you started to see it where our guys started having some success along with their ability. And I think in 2023 is where you're going to see kind of that perfect storm come where you have all that depth, all that ability, and you're combined with production. And that's when farm systems really explode.
Yeah. It seems like it's a tough situation that Chris and the front office find themselves in because of what you just said. The prospects are right there, but you got to start winning. The 6 straight losing seasons. So we were talking about this in our first segment. There's a big juggling act here. Like how long do you want to lock up a pitcher? A free agent pitcher, because how you need these young guys to help balance the budget for one, but they've got a chance to I guess the dream is the late 90, early 2000 Oakland A's, where you can pull a Mulder, Hudson, and Zito out of your farm system. But it just so how much of that is in the thought process right now?
Yeah, I think right now, I think actually they're kind of independent, right? Like we want to make either way. We have got to make sure this next wave of pitchers, not even pitchers, but even the position players. Now we're super active in the trade market or the free agent market, or not. We've got to make sure this next wave of players comes up and contributes to the team. That's going to give us an opportunity to do everything, like you said. You want to make sure that for so many reasons, it's important to get young players to contribute. I think the fan base can identify with them right away. They become like fan favorites. They get fans excited about coming to the game. Of course, it balances out your budget, and you get guys who are playing at the minimum, and they are productive members of your team. That's massive for any team. So yeah, for all those reasons, it's really, really important. But I mean, we are making sure that those guys are going to get an opportunity when they're ready. They come and get an opportunity. But I think the beauty of like what CY has stressed to all these guys is this is you saw what we did last year with our middle infield. Every rumor out there has us involved in every big picture that's there. We want to make sure that our young players know, the young players and pitchers know that if you play well and you work hard and you kind of check all the boxes that we ask you to check, you're going to get an opportunity here. But no red carpets rolled out. And that's the way it should be. It's competition. This is sports. This is nothing given, everything earned. And that's exactly the way it should be. And that way, when you do get that opportunity and you do succeed, you're already a little hardened up. You're already hardened up. You've already had to kind of earn your opportunity. And when you start doing that to players, that's when you find players who are ready to perform in postseason games. And so it's really, really just another step in development, really. Even though they're not in the minor leagues anymore, you still kind of develop a mentality that helps them succeed when all the pressure's on.
Sure. What's your take on Josh Young?
Josh can flat out hit. I think he's really smart. He's a smart kid. And two, he takes he has a ton of pride in what kind of hitter he wants to be. When we first got him, everything we've heard when we first got him was he was more of a well-rounded hitter, right? Uses the whole field. We've got to work on pull power. That was the biggest thing that we heard at the time. Well, now look what Josh does, right? You leave him something up in the zone and it gets smoked to left field in the air. So he's already kind of made these adjustments before he's even got to the major leagues, right? And then they always say, I find it to be true that with good polished hitters, power is the last thing to develop. They start getting that knack for catching a breaking ball out front and getting a little bit of backspin and hitting it instead of trying to mash a 480-foot homer, 340-foot homer, you're still jogging around the bases. And you just kind of learn that skill of getting the ball in the air and just let it backspin over the fence a little bit. And, I think Josh is going to get there. He's already shown he's crushed the minor leagues, right? He's absolutely nuked AAA pitching. Again, that speaks to our earlier point. Everything earned. So he's earned his opportunity now. So he's got a chance to be a really special hitter, and fit right in the middle of our lineup for years to come.
Well, I could keep you forever, but John's over here chomping at the bit, wanting to ask fun stuff. So
well, this is I come at this when look, I grew up a Texas Ranger fan. So when you were playing in the World Series, my wife and I had season tickets sitting up in the stands. So we were right there with you, and I know it was exciting. It was exciting for us. So I know what fans like to hear and what they want to talk about. So you're from La Puente, California, right? You went to Bishop Amat Memorial?
There you go.
All right, I got that right. Did you play any other sports in high school?
No, I played just baseball. So I played all sports growing up. The second I got to high school, it was baseball only.
Just baseball. And now we had Woody on here. You guys played against each other or were neighbors. Is that right?
Yeah, we grew up together. We all went to all the same. I went to public schools all the way through 8th grade. He and I went to the same schools in middle school and junior high school. We went to the same school, Las Palmas Junior High School. We sat next to each other in all of our classes, played basketball, recess, all the fun stuff. And then he went to the next Northview High School was the public school that we would have went to. My folks sent me to Bishop Amat Catholic School. It was kind of like the sports powerhouse in our area. And I went there. So it became just a massive, with all my buddies who went to Northview, I went to Bishop Amat, didn't really know anybody. I was always kind of following Northview baseball, but we never got a chance to play each other in my 4 years. And Woody and I always talk about it. We would have totally smashed them. It would have been nice to have gotten that chance. I mean, we were the number one team in the state my junior year, senior year, so it would have been on at that point.
Well, so I know that. So you ended up going to UC Santa Barbara. So, but coming out of high school, you were drafted out of high school. So, did you have any other opportunities? Any other schools that looked at you?
No, one offer. UCSB. It was SC was my dream school. That was the one I really wanted to go to. SC or UCLA, they were the two big schools around where I was from, and I was getting some calls from both in high school, and they started to kind of cool down a little bit, which was a little heartbreaking. But UCSB was consistent, so I had one offer and jumped all over it. If they had a football team, I'd be wearing their shirt right now. It's kind of hard to. It's kind of hard to field a football team with a campus full of guys in flip flops and board shorts. So it's kind of tough to do that.
But they have good basketball.
Yeah,
they do. They do. It's fun. It's a fun place to watch a basketball game for sure. Yeah, it's a really, really cool place. Their baseball program has really taken off.
Yeah. This is a fun one to ask, too, because you got drafted twice. You got drafted in the 25th round by the Orioles out of high school, 1994. But then in 97, you were a fifth-round pick. I love asking this question. On each one of them, how did you find out you'd been drafted? I mean, it wasn't like today where you go sit in New York. Where were you, and how did you find out you'd gotten drafted?
The first time I was in high school, so I was just kind of hanging out at home. No big deal. And once the first day passed, remember in those days, it was unlimited rounds. So
right.
The first day passed, and at that point, I had a scholarship in hand, so I wasn't going to sign. The Orioles called me in day two, said thank you. It was an honor, but I knew it wasn't going to happen. And then my junior year at UCSB, I knew I was going to sign. So I just taken a final. Went back to my apartment to take a nap. My roommate woke me up and the phone rang, and it was Billy Moore, the scout from the Blue Jays, and told me I got drafted. I was super excited. It really is a special moment when I can imagine every sport when you find out that step one of your lifelong goal is finally here. You can sign, and within days you're on a plane. It's the best feeling in the world.
Now the trade. So you're traded for Esteban Loaiza. That whole deal comes down. You come to the Rangers. How did you find out you'd been traded?
Yeah, so we knew we were right at the trade deadline. And as a minor league player, when you're a prospect and the trade deadline comes, you could happen, right? You never know. So
right.
We were in Greenville, South Carolina. I was in Double A at the time, and our manager Rocket Wheeler, my cell phone rings, and he's like, "Hey, I need to see you in my hotel room." All right, so right away I'm like, "This is no good. Either I got traded, or he's a creep. Either way, this is no good." So sure enough, I go over there, and he tells me he's already, because I had him for 3 years as a manager at this point.
Yeah.
Right? And in the minor leagues, you go through a lot together. It's a ton of extra work. A ton of games played, a ton of development, a ton of bus trips. It's a lot of time to kind of bond. So he had some tears in his eyes, and he said, "You just got traded to Texas." And I was bummed at that point, right? Because all I knew was the Blue Jays at that point. And I was looking, again, I was in Double A. I was having some success, and it was close. But I kind of got over it pretty quickly. Because, it's during the season trade, so you don't have any time to think about it. Next thing you know, I'm in Tulsa next day. I'm in Tulsa, and I'm playing that night. And it's one of those cool things where baseball becomes your sanctuary. Like the second 7 o'clock rolls around, it's like I'll worry about my luggage and where I'm going to stay, and the fact that I don't have a car out here. I'll worry about all that stuff after the game. But so it worked out fine. And at the end of that year, I was in the big leagues with the Rangers. So it really, really worked out well for me.
Well, it's September 29th, 2000. That's your major league debut. This is, as a guy that played baseball in high school, was never good enough to go beyond that, this would be a dream of mine. How did you find out you were going to the big leagues?
Yeah, I was all packed up. I was getting ready to go to the Arizona Fall League. I had my truck packed up. I was actually at my sister's high school volleyball game, and I got a call from Reed Nichols, who was our farm director at the time. And he said, "Hey, you're going to go, you're going to show up to the Fall League late. You're going up to Seattle. We just got an injury. You're going to finish out last week, the big team." So I was like, sweet, didn't know how much I'd play. As it turns out, I watched a lot, didn't really play too much. Got a couple of bats, didn't get any hits. But it was, I think that 1 week, and it's, you got to take it for what it's worth. And at that point, that's all I had to go on. And the positives for me were, by the time I rolled to what ended up being my rookie year the following spring, I kind of knew how a big league environment kind of functions, right? What time they get there, what they eat, what it looks like after a win, after a loss in the clubhouse, when you got to go get your early work in, all those kind of like little things that you usually have to kind of work out on the fly. I was ready for it by the time I got to camp the following year. So that ended up being a really, really big thing for me. Small in the grand scheme of things, but it was good at the time.
Was 2000 the first year of Safeco or the last season of the Kingdom?
No, it was, I think 99 was the first.
Okay.
Because, it was 90 was.
So is it Safeco? Yeah. Okay. So I can probably guess what this is, but you played on the World Series teams. But what is your greatest memory as a Ranger player? Is it Game 6? Is it, what was it going to, Game 6 against the Yankees? What's your greatest memory as a Ranger?
I think that one is easy to go to because I think for fans, it's definitely Game 6 against the Yankees. I think for me, it was probably the Game 6 the following year. Because Game 6 against the Yankees, everything kind of happened really fast, right? It was right. We knew we had a good year, and all that fun momentum built up throughout the course of the year. We traded for Cliff Lee. Cliff was really great. We're steamrolling through the playoffs. We go into New York, and we really, really take it to them. We win 2 out of 3 in New York, and we come back home, and we know we're gonna win the thing at home, and that felt great, right? But we're still kind of on this roller coaster of emotion, like trying to make sure that we're taking in all of the fun and the atmosphere of the city, of the area, and trying to make sure that we stay focused on the field in order to kind of, capitalize on opportunity. But the following year, 2011, I just think it was a bunch of guys really it was the perfect storm of the season. It was a bunch of really, really good players who had career years. We ran through the whole league, and we got to play Detroit in the ALCS of that year. It was kind of a similar situation. They were a loaded team. They're pitching staff. Verlander, Scherzer, Miguel Cabrera's in peak form. They were really, really good. And sure enough, man, we end up coming back home. We're up 3-2, very similar to the year before, up 3-2 with a chance to clinch it at home. And we're in our advanced scouting meeting, and we're facing Scherzer that night. And we knew that if we lost that game, they would throw either Doug Fister or Ricky Porcello in Game 7, who they're both really good, with Verlander probably coming out of the pen. So we knew that let's handle business right here. So we're going through the scouting report. We're talking about Scherzer. Our hitting coaches are saying their piece, and we just stopped the meeting. And I remember we're facing Max Scherzer, and we're like, let's just beat the hell out of this team tonight. No messing around. I don't care what the scouting report says. We've been playing a lot of tight games. That whole series was a bunch of tight games, extra inning games, a hit here and there can decide it. And we said, we haven't smoked anybody in a while. Like, we are due for a beatdown. So tonight we'll get it. How about that? We'll get it tonight. And sure enough, I think we beat them by 10. And that was kind of what that team was capable of. It was just, let's kind of like let's stay focused on one thing and let's just go get it. And that was a fun game. It really was to me, kind of like show what that team is all about.
Yeah, I think the thing about that game that's forgotten, you just brought up, is Max Scherzer started that game. I mean, he wasn't Max Scherzer right now, but he was Max Scherzer.
Yeah, he was.
I think you guys scored 9, right? 9 in the third or 9 in the fourth.
Yeah, we did. We knocked him out in the third. They brought in Porcello. We knocked out Porcello. it was. And Scherzer wasn't the same guy he ended up being in, say, DC, but stuff-wise, he was.
Yeah.
Stuff-wise, still what he was at the time. It was just a matter of, like, maybe the command didn't end up being what it was down the road, but it was still a handful of an at-bat. It was very clear that what that guy had in the tank as far as what he could accomplish in his career. He was a handful of an at-bat.
Yeah, I remember that series. And like Miguel Cabrera, you could not get a ball past him. No. You could throw it a foot outside and he would hit it. It was it was just unbelievable. And then the next year he won the Triple Crown.
Yeah,
but
he was good.
I just remember, and I remember how much Wash revered him and talked about him, and God bless Wash.
Yeah. Hey, I got 2 more for you, so I'm gonna let you get out of here. This is the game I play with all the hitters. It's called the home run game. You're gonna talk about 3 home runs you've hit in your life. First one's real easy to always do, and sometimes your second one you have 1 or 2 of them. First one is your first home run you ever hit over a fence. How old were you, and do you remember where you were?
Yeah, I was 12. I was playing at Camino National. It was a first pitch fastball from Matt Miller. Matt Miller. Right. I ended up hitting. When I was 12. I think I hit. I have an elephant memory when it comes to this stuff, dude. I'll be here all day long. It was. We played, I played for the Padres. We won the league that year. We won the city championship that year. And I hit I think 7 homers in a 20-game schedule. And 3 of them were off Matt Miller. That was just the first one.
Oh, wow. Okay, second one, most exciting. Now, it could have been whether it was college, minor leagues, major leagues. maybe a walk-off or tie up a game or anything like that? What if you have a couple of them, that's okay. What's the most exciting home run you remember hitting?
Exciting. You would think there'd be big league games. I remember when I was in college, we were playing, it was my junior year, and we were playing at Wichita State. And the guy I was facing, I had a little bit of a back and forth with. I had faced him that summer in Alaska, and sure enough, I hit a homer my first at bat. And at this point of my junior year, the draft's right around the corner. I'm kind of starting to smell all this stuff. Like it's starting to really become real in my head.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like college baseball back in the day, right? There's no TVs out there. So one home run means like stuff's about to happen. Sure enough, I get 2 balls whizzed above my head the next at bat. And then the third pitch, hit it off a scoreboard. And I think it was the one homer that I pimped in my entire life. I mean, it was, I don't think I never ever did a homer. It's hit it, get my head down, get around the bases. But I had fun with that one, man. There was a lot of people in Wichita, Kansas, who didn't like me after that game. That was a fun game. 2 balls was by the dome. Yeah, I had some fun hitting that one.
Okay, last one. The bomb. The one that the moment it hit your barrel, you knew it was gone. Who was it against, and how far do you think it went?
Whew. That's a good one. That's a really good one. One thing that sticks out, I think it was 2009, one that sticks out. We were facing Detroit, and I hit it, I think at our park. I felt super locked in at this point in the season. And I think it was off Ryan Perry, kid who came out from Detroit throwing really, really hard. So, he just doing all the hard work, right? You just got to put barrel on it. Yeah. I hit one like left center, and it kind of just really clipped it perfectly. I don't know how far it went, but it was one of those ones that right at contact, I'm going to get around the bases, but I kind of want to watch where this thing ends up a little bit, because those were the
That's a good feeling. I hit one in my life, so it's real easy to remember the one I hit my junior year of high school. Right. Okay, last one. This is the fun one. It's what's something nobody knows about Michael Young. Let me give you some examples so you'll know where you're going. Jack Leiter can't stand peanut butter, so that's weird. Here's one that I always find funny. JD has been on here a couple of times. JD has airplane underwear. 2 pairs. He wears one on the plane ride wherever he goes, and he wears 1 pair on the plane ride home. He said it. So I mean,
he said it. It's on the record.
Airplane underwear. It's on the record. CY, he likes. He's really into the true crime documentaries. Yeah. He's really into that. What is something nobody knows about Michael Young?
Well, shit. I can't say that I don't like clowns. That became a thing.
That's a thing. That's a thing.
I guess I will say on this one, like where it originated. So it's a super real thing. And I'm not afraid of them. There's a big difference between not standing something and being afraid of them. I am not afraid of them. But it is real. Like I freaking hate them. So when I was a kid at my grandfather's house, I got pictures in my phone that maybe I can show you guys at one point. Actually, it was my uncle's house. Sorry, I'll make this really quick. He had pictures of clowns all over the house, right? So I got a picture of this thing right here, this thing right here. I got family photos. I got all kinds of crap in my house. It's clowns everywhere. I remember walking it every freaking time, every holiday, every birthday, everything, every first communion, baptism, all this stuff. And I'm looking around, I'm like, what the hell kind of prison of terror am I in right now? It was, and they were like all kinds of clowns. It was ones, you can see like squirting a flower in the water, the paint face, all the stupid, and then some really creepy looking ones too. So that's kind of where it originated. And it really kind of came full force when I went to the circus, like in high school, and I hadn't really thought about it much, at that point. And then sure enough, I had this, I'm having a good time. And then all of a sudden the clowns came out, and I'm like, these different things, dude. If I ever get squared up by one of these things, it is on. I don't trust them. I think they're evil, dude. And the guy who plays them, I don't just consider him to have that's not your normal gig. I think you're doing stuff on the side. I think you're robbing cars. I think you're selling meth. I think you're doing all kinds of weird stuff on the side to cover up for your clown gig. Yeah.
There's document. I mean, the most infamous clown of all time is John Wayne Gacy. I mean,
you might be onto something, Mike. I tell you what, you might be right.
I am. I read it just to kind of try and power through the fear or the darkness. Didn't help. Made it worse. The whole thing.
You got anything else for Mike?
No, just thank you for doing this, and hopefully TCU and USC take care of business and both advance. I'd like to.
I'm not going to sit between the two of you. You're going to be swinging at each other there on that.
Michigan is Derek Holland, and
yep.
Georgia is the guy from the Morning News. So
there can be some there
could be some battles here.
That'd be fine.
Yeah,
Mike, we can't thank you enough for coming on, man, and we really appreciate you taking the time.
You got it, guys. Happy to help. Happy holidays to you guys.
All right,
Michael,
that's
thanks.
Michael Young, Hall of Famer for the Texas Rangers, also special assistant to the general manager. Thanks, Mike.
You got it, guys. Take it easy.
All right. Take care. A big thanks to Michael for jumping in there with us. That was great to get him together.
Yeah, I just noticed his bobblehead's right there.
Right in the front. That's right. Hey, listen.
So he was here in studio. There you go.
There you are. It's time to go down in the bus leagues. Not a ton going on, but we need to always touch on it no matter what. The show last week, we had Brock on.
Yeah.
What a great kid.
Yeah, and he's working out, and he's sounds like his program. He's on it, but I wrote about this before Thanksgiving about the, it was year one of Porter and Kumar Rocker, and really, as we talked about, just unbelievable that the Rangers were able to get these two guys.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
I mean, it was a divine intervention, really, and so the Rangers got them. Obviously, different pitchers. One guy's a man, one guy's a teenager, and so they took different developmental paths. Rocker wanted to pitch, and they built him up, made sure he checked all the health marks, and
right.
Checked all the boxes on that, and then he did pitch, and he pitched pretty well overall. He had a couple hiccups there, but he did well in the fall league, and I think
he's facing better pitching hitting than he's ever faced.
Sure, but I think it kind of told him a lot of what he needs to work on and what he needs to do to get ready for the season. So I think it's a good jumping off point for him, because he, in theory, is going to move fast.
Right.
And then Brock did not pitch. They didn't even let him throw live batting practice, which I thought was interesting. They didn't want him to, I guess, rev up his engine, too much. And, they were very cautious. He'd had the long layoff between the draft and the end of his high school season. And then, you have a couple more weeks until you sign. So there's really no need to rush him to get him to Hickory, to pitch 4 innings. So they just took their time with him, and then I think he, as he said, it was beneficial. He feels like he has an idea of what professional baseball is like, and what the work that is involved in it behind the scenes that nobody sees. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with him next spring. I don't know that he would necessarily go to an affiliate right away.
He might do the little complex league for a couple of starts.
And he might not even do that. It might just
extended spring.
Extended spring, a deal like they did with Sajasi 2 years ago, and our buddies Ian Muller and Cam Cauley this year, where they just held him back a little bit and then let him go and get a feel. The pitching's different these days. It's once a week, so that's all right. You can pitch out of the bullpen, piggyback system. So there are a lot of ways they can work it where he gets a taste, but doesn't feel like he has to go 9 innings a game, something like that, and really monitor what he does. So it'll be interesting to see. But year one, whether it's 2 or 3 months, whatever constituted their first year under contract, I think they weren't hurt, so that's good.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing. And so you
got to protect that.
You could deem it a success, I guess, if you want to do it, but it was much better than it could have been. I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah. And then we got a picture of Evan Carter back there, who you boldly predicted is going to be the starting center fielder for the Rangers at some point next year. Hey, what? Maybe.
You know, the Rangers, listen, and look, it's me dreaming again. You know, I always come from the fantasy side of it, right? I always have fun there. The Rangers haven't had, since Elvis Andrus, they haven't had the 20-year-old that's come up and just taken over.
Yes.
And nothing against Leote. If hopefully Leote's playing so well that doesn't have to happen. But look, he's starting out at Double-A. If he's killing Double-A and does like he can, getting on base, he doesn't have to hit 330 homers. But what I'm saying, he's producing, doing it. He's good defensively. This is a kid that I'm hoping, I want to see that kid solidify and come up, and they have to do the Elvis Andrus thing and go, you know what? He's ready to be here. Let's get him out here. We're winning now, and this guy can help.
Yeah.
That's what I'd love to see. If it doesn't happen, it's just my fantasy that doesn't come true. And it's another year of development. So he doesn't have to be on the 40-man right now. So, but this guy is, you hear it from different guys that cover the minor leagues. You have to have an alpha male. You have to have that one alpha male, you know, like a Tatis or like a Soto or whoever that comes up through a system that just, and this is the closest they have to the alpha male right now. Okay. Maybe starting pitching. There's a couple of guys like Leiter and Rocker that could be, even Porter, that could be the alpha male that we could see come up, but none of them have done that yet. He's 19, about to be 20, and he's hitting at every level where he's the youngest guy in there.
Yeah.
This is our guy that maybe could be our alpha male he could be a Cody Bellinger before he played like he did the last couple of years and get up here and be a solid middle of the order bat that hits 25, 30 home runs, hits close to 300, an all-star.
Yeah.
Right? A homegrown all-star?
Sure.
Okay. All right. That's mine.
No, he is 20. He turned 20 in August. He's getting married here this month. I think the 17th.
Well, he's too old now. Never mind.
Congratulations to him. But that's one thing that, he understands the strike zone. And if you have an understanding of the strike zone, you're ahead of the game. And, obviously it's going to be different for him, at whatever level he's at.
Yeah, he's about to face. It's about to get real.
He only got a week of Double-A plus the playoffs.
Right. He did okay, but
Triple A's a lot of breaking balls and breaking stuff. So maybe he goes there and gets a little bit.
He's
better
likely
test.
starting at Double-A. I mean, there's no reason to start him at Triple-A. He's going to start at Double-A. Yeah. So you folks here in the Metroplex, you've got to get out and watch him play. He's a. But that's what he needs. He needs to get to Double-A and just do what he's kept doing. And it's going to be exciting to watch him play there. All right. I'm off my soapbox on him, but he's my number one prospect.
Sure.
I'm sorry. Nothing against Leiter, who I think is going to easily could be a front-end rotation guy. I think Rocker could be that. I think Porter could be that. White might be the best pitcher in the organization right now. I mean, they've got some guys there, but this guy right here is doing it on the field. And, of course, I'm really high on Zavala, too, but he's hurt.
Yeah, he's hurt. He's a little banged up, but – yeah, so again, good stuff is happening in the farm system, and a
lot of currency.
Exactly. It may not look the same after this next week.
It may not.
Yeah.
They're gonna. I think the most. Is there anybody you think the most likely to get traded because he just doesn't really have a position?
Well, a lot of people have said Foscue, but
that's who I thought.
I think that Foscue can
headline
move him around.
Yeah, he can play first base.
Anybody can play first base,
right? But he's a good enough fielder at second base that you could move him to first base.
Sure, I mean, and
he could be a good defender.
You can try him in the outfield.
Sure.
You can DH him. I mean, if there are people in the organization who are extremely high on his bat and do not want to see him traded. So we'll see what happens there. But you hear the talk about
one of the two
Duran
shortstops
and Josh Smith who could get traded. That's entirely possible, but there is I don't know if you want to say
you could go deep.
I don't know if you want to say surplus, but there are enough trades that can be made where the Rangers' depth wouldn't be hurt.
No,
so
it goes deep. There are organizations that could dig deep into the Rangers organization and pick up some nice players. That we're not even talking about.
Sure.
Because they're
it's
there.
Huge list. Yeah.
I tell you what, I saw. I'm not going to say where I saw it, but somebody went to Fall Instructs and looked at stuff. The name that's coming out of Fall Instructs that really kind of he didn't have a great season was Cam Cauley, and all of a sudden he's doing pretty well again. And we had him on here, and I read something about that the other day, and I'm like, good for Cam. I like Cam. He was a really good kid. Came on to talk to us. So it's look, your first swim into the pro baseball. It's You're facing stuff you've never faced before.
Right. And you're doing things you've never done before. You're
playing a lot more
bus trips and living in a new part of the country and trying to, there's just a lot.
Absolutely.
And so, that's why every player comes at their own, because it's not just the baseball they're having to develop and become accustomed to, it's life.
Right.
And it's not easy.
No. But anything else before we
No.
shut her down? I mean, it's not going to be a big bus leagues this week. I mean, there's no ball being played right now. There might be a big bus leagues next week if we start talking about somebody gets moved. Hey, listen, we talked about this. We want to let y'all know we may not be able to do a show next week.
I would bet against it,
because you're going to be at the winter meetings till Thursday, and then what do you got going after that?
And then I'm flying to New York for the Heisman Trophy ceremony
because it looks like
Max Duggan from TCU is going to be a finalist. He just won the Unitas Award, so it's.
That's great.
It's
for
kind
Max.
of fun.
Yeah, it's great
it's
for
kind
this.
Of fun.
Look, Roxo Media that does this, guys. They're affiliated with TCU, and I'm a Horn fan, and we have our fun with that.
Yeah.
But these guys have been great. It's so excited for TCU making it to the Big 12 championship. Looks like they're going to be in the college football playoffs.
Hopefully, yeah.
And that's fantastic. All these guys here have been great to me. I love it. They give me crap, but that's okay.
Yeah,
I love it.
Frogs Day, if you're a TCU fan, subscribe to it too. It's $1 for your first month and then $9.99 thereafter. But we
every sport covers every sport. The voice of the TCU Horned Frogs,
Brian Estridge
is here.
A presence, and I do some writing for him. And really, it's just, it's the preeminent outlet covering TCU, and
and we're in the off season too. We got a lot coming out. You're still going to be writing.
Oh yeah.
So if we don't get an episode here, it's because he's got to pay bills, and so he's writing for them too, and that's a big deal to go to the Heisman.
Sure, you can't get into the ceremony as it turns out. The media can't, but still to follow him around and kind of chronicle it. And,
that'd be fun.
He's got a chance to have TCU's highest finish since Davey O'Brien won the thing. I think Jim Swink finished second and. What did like 55 or 56?
Did LaDainian Thompson not?
He wasn't the runner-up. He was like fourth, I think.
Did he go to New York?
Yeah, he went to New York.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's another TCU story that I'm sure a lot of fans know about. But we'll touch on that another time.
On the TCU.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Listen, don't forget, subscribe down there below. Rangers Today, $5.99 a month, $60 for a year.
$35 for 6 months.
$35?
It's a popular one.
Absolutely. Big thanks to Michael Young for joining us today. That was great of him to stop down. Guys, if we don't see you next week, it'll be the week after that. Until then, we will see you at the yard.
Roxo Media House.